Hello everybody. This is Dipndu Mukherjee, a student of Ramakrishna Mission Shikshana Mandira, Belur Math, Howrah. And as a part of our project today, I'm going to teach about my allotted topic from the first half of CC 113, which is the psychology of teaching. And the topic which I'm gonna explain today, it's the levels of teaching. So let's start. So first of all, before beginning of anything, let's see what's the meaning of teaching. What's the definition of teaching? So the teaching is a process in which one individual teaches or instruct another individual. Teaching is considered as an act of the imparting instructions to the learners in the classroom situation. Though it sounds very easy, but it is a very skillful task and quite a task job. Teachers play a very important role in the life of students' life, and thus it is not wrong to say that the teaching job is very difficult and challenging professions in the world because of the multiple qualities it requires inside a teacher to explain stuff very usefully and very effectively. So a teaching job needs passion, dedication, responsible behavior of shaping the student's life, their uh, goals in life, and this teaching they will carry out from generations to generation. So as a teacher, you need to have different kind of strategies, techniques and method as compared to other professions. So today in our topic we're going to see that what are the different levels of teaching, what are those names, what does it mean, and definitions, some pros and cons of those different kind of teaching levels. So let's jump into the next slide. So as you can see here, there's three different stages of teaching. The first one is memory level, which is also considered as the thoughtless teaching, and probably it is one of the most simplest form of teaching, which is very effective when it comes to teaching or explaining things to a child. The second one is understanding level, which is also considered as a thoughtful because it's a little bit more difficult and a little bit more comprehensive as compared to the previous one, which is memory level. And the third one is reflective level, which is upper thoughtful, and this process of teaching is very complicated and it requires a lot of time, and it's not going to applicable for every situation, every scenario in every country, but it's a very useful process. So let's see some nuances of those teaching methods and how we're gonna apply those teaching methods in real life. The first teaching method which we are gonna discuss today, it's called the memory level teaching. So memory is the idea. So let's discuss what is memory first, because if you want to uh, know about the memory level teaching, we need to know about the memory first, right? So let's talk about memory. Memory is ideal revival in which the object of past experience reinstate far as possible in the order and manner of original occurrence, and this definition has been given by Stout. Thus, the memory level of teaching is such a teaching which primarily based upon the textbook knowledge, and the emphasis is more upon memorizing rather than learning. Though it's more of a bookish method of learning, but it also helps to increase the memory power of a student, and it is very effective when we're going to teach something to the child or infant, because they don't have that much of knowledge to comprehend everything. They don't have that much of knowledge to explain everything which they're learning. So this kind of memory level teaching is very helpful for teaching a child or an infant. Though it has some pros and cons which we're going to discuss soon. So jump into the next slide. As you can see here, I'm highlighting some key features of memory level teaching, and the first one is prevalence of memorization. As I've said earlier, that memory level teaching requires a lot of memorization, and it considered as more of a traditional way of teaching something. And the second one is, as we can see, it's confined within the textbook and you're not allowed to memorize uh, anything outside from your textbook, so it's more of a traditional and confined method of teaching. And the third one is less emphasis over concept, and which is very clear, because when you're going to memorize something, the chances are you're not going to apply your head, your intelligence as much when you're going to grasp a subject from its deepest core and you're going to try to explain it to other people. So that is three key features of memory level learning. Coming to the next slide. So here I've highlighted some pros of the memory level teaching, which is it is very beneficial for slow learner, because those who learns very slow, it's very difficult for them to get deepest grasp of a topic and right away explain that topic to somebody else. So for them, this kind of teaching method is very effective. Number two, helpful to children for learning a new concept, which we have discussed earlier, which we were discussing earlier, that it's very helpful for our children to learning a new concept because they don't have the ability to comprehend a lot of thing, a lot of stuff very quickly. Thus, this method can help them quite a lot. And the third one is basis for understanding the reflective level of teaching. So, as we have discussed earlier, the reflective level of teaching is quite a high form of teaching, and it requires uh, a lot of teacher, a lot of explanation about about the subject matter and all that stuff. So that is the kind of stuff, and let's look at the next slide here. So as we were discussing, sorry, as we were discussing that it's not beneficial for higher classes because adult people tend to have more what I'm gonna say, adult people tend to have more uh, realization power, more analyzing power as compared to a child or infant, so it's not helpful for them and it will be a little bit bookish method for them. The second one is dominance of teacher. The dominance of teacher is very prevalent in this type of teaching, and and there comes the problem of classroom management, because you're teaching quite a lot of people in the same way. You're treating a mass people, a mass in a same way. You are treating everybody like a another brick in the wall, so that is not quite right here. And the fourth is low interaction level in classroom. So when you're treating everybody in same manner, you are constantly reducing the amount of interaction in classroom. Thus it's not a very helpful way to teach stuff for adults. Let's jump into the next slide. Understanding level. That is the second method of teaching, in which students interact with concept and, as the name implies, comprehend the content. They evaluate the concept and bring together the facts and other notions associated with them based on the student prior awareness and the comprehension level. Teachers and students are also equally interested in this phase, and in this teaching stage, teacher use debates, seminars, explanations, and other similar methods. The classroom atmosphere is welcoming and stimulating. So let's see some of the pros and cons of this type of teaching method. I'm sorry. So some of the pros of this type of teaching method is it's very effective for the learning purpose of adults, and it also improves or encourages the development of different technique, comprehension technique, obviously. And number three, it sets the stages for entering into the reflective level of teaching. Cons is obviously this type of teaching requires quite a lot of dominance of teacher, and this is not very useful when it comes to teaching an adult because they have their individual mindset. Second one is no individual learning. Third one is less emphasis on intrinsic motivation, and fourth one is no individual learning. Jump into the next slide. Reflective level. This one is a more introspective level of teaching, which is most advanced among all the level of teaching learning method, because it doesn't end until the student has grasped the idea. That's why it's beyond comprehension and requires students to focus on what they have heard or understood. And this is a level of instruction in which the instructor encourages and stimulates students to think about and reflect on the content and concept they have learned. Let's see some pros and cons of this type of teaching method. First one, it's a very thoughtful mode of operation. It's learner centered development. It encourages the development of problem solving skill. Also maximum flexibility is there, and it encourages creativity, but along with all these pros there comes few cons and disadvantages, which we're going to see in the next slide. And that is, it's not for child and infant because they don't have ability to comprehend or understand what they're hearing right away. Secondly, it requires a lot of patience for teachers, which is quite a bit tricky. Number three, not suitable for every situation. And number four, hard to apply in reality. So uh, that is the end of our 10 minutes or 8 minutes long teaching procedure. Thank you for listening.